Hi, I'm Femi OK, and you're in the stream. Today, Tunisia is about to mark 5 years since the start of its Jasmine Revolution and the Arab Spring under a state of emergency. So how's the threat of violence impacting the progress made by this very young democracy? Well, the stream has been chatting to Tunisians all weekend using a variety of polls. I think, how many polls did we have, Malika Bilal?
About three.
Three, okay. What did you find out?
Well, progress is the number one thing that people wanted to talk about, and so we wanted to gauge reaction to that. So we asked if our community would consider Tunisia an Arab Spring success story. And with 170 votes so far, as you can see there, more than 60% of people say yes. Now, you still have a chance to vote during the show to tell us what you think while you're watching our discussion. Just head to our AJ Stream account on Twitter.
Hi, this is Imam Sohaib Webb, and I am definitely in the stream.
Tunisia is often regarded as the success story of the Arab Spring. Not only were Tunisians the catalysts to the uprisings that swept across the Arab world in 2011, they're also the very first to topple their dictator. And when the transition to democracy was threatened by political assassinations, violence and social unrest, Tunisia's National Dialogue Quartet managed to find a way out. They've been credited with building a pluralistic democracy. And this year, they won the Nobel Peace Prize for establishing a constitutional system of government guaranteeing fundamental rights for the entire population, irrespective of gender, political conviction, or religious belief. But slow economic growth and high youth unemployment continue to pose significant challenges. Also, the threat of violence continues. ISIL has claimed responsibility for 3 deadly attacks this year. The government responded by declaring a state of emergency and giving the police and military more power through a controversial counter-terrorism law. So to help us discuss all of this, we're joined by Skanda Ben Hamda, a cyber activist, Maria Masmoudi, a Tunisian political and civil society activist, Ines Amri, Deputy Secretary General of the Maghreb Economic Forum, and right here in our studio, Tunisia's Ambassador to the United States, Faisal Gouria. Good to have you here, everybody. Welcome, Mr. Ambassador. Mariam, you were on our show about 2 years ago. You were an optimist then. Let's see if you're an optimist now. The last 5 years, what's the best thing that's happened to Tunisia in the last 5 years?
Oh, the best thing. The best thing I think is the Constitution. This was a Constitution that was very broadly consensus-based. It involved not only representatives in an assembly that were directly elected by the people, but it also involved civil society organizations every step of the way. And it took a while. It took a little over 2 years. So I think this is something that all Tunisians can be very proud of.
Mr. Ambassador, what's changed in the last 5 years for Tunisia?
Many changes. Changes in the people's daily life. People recovered their liberty and dignity, and the revolution was all about these 2 main values. But also, Tunisians now are proud of being Tunisians. In the past, people were, anxious about their identity, about their future, about the situation the country is evolving in. But now, Tunisians look at themselves with a lot of pride, and the many events that happened during these last 5 years made them feel extremely powerful and extremely proud of themselves.
Mr. Ambassador, I love that you have these 2 prongs of being proud, but also being slightly anxious, because we actually spoke to Tunisians in the capital, Tunis, with the help of journalists on the ground there. Our team did. And we asked them about their lives in the past 5 years and what's changed for them, and have a listen to what their answers were.
أكبر تغير صار لي بعد الثورة هو كنت نفكر في أوضاعي الداخلية العائلية، ولكن همي الوحيد هو الأوضاع بتاع البلاد.
الدنيا غلت علينا، الدنيا صعبت علينا، ما عندناش منجمين رواحنا في حتى شيء.
بعد الثورة أكثر تغير، وليت نحب أكثر تونس ونستكشف في البلايص نتاعها. أكبر تغير صار لي بعد الثورة إني وليت نعمل على روحي، من كنت نقرأ وليت نخدم.
أكثر تغير صار لي بعد الثورة إني ما فماش ستابيليتي، ما فماش إكيليبر في البلاد.
أكبر تغيير صار لي من بعد الثورة بيان سور إني شديت بلاصتي في الخدمة.
So Ines, you heard in that comment or these comments from people in Tunis, there are things about finding jobs, having independence. And I would say online, the number one answer we got in what's changed in the past 5 years is something like this. This is Amal on Twitter who says, the declaration of the new constitution is definitely Tunisia's biggest achievement since the start of the Arab Spring. Kind of echoing what Maryam said there, but Ines, for you, what was the biggest achievement?
I think, as Maryam said, and everyone is saying, yeah, the constitution is the most important thing that we come up with after the revolution. I mean, it's a guarantee against. I mean, it's a shield that will protect us from going back to repression, to dictatorship. This is for the future generations, not only this generation. The constitution is the only guarantee for our freedoms. So I think, yes, it's an achievement. But also, the most important thing is the democratic transition. We were able in 4 years to organize elections, fair elections, transparent elections, and to get everyone involved in the process. The revolution made that need to be a citizen, and this is shown through the vibrant civil society we have in Tunisia. Everyone is involved, either in politics, in civil society, associations, local communities on the local community level or on the national, regional level. It's a vibrant society we're living. That's, I think, the most important thing that we have now. In the past, no one used to criticize. So this is another asset, freedom of expression. The media is no longer muzzled. Everyone speaks. So I think the best guaranteed against repression is constitution, freedom of expression, freedom of the media. If we have these three the most important components, we are fine. It should be fine. The only thing we should do right now is to struggle. The fight has not finished. We still need to struggle, and this is a daily fight. Democracy is a daily fight.
So Skander, as a cyber activist, do you still have cyber activism to do now in this new Tunisia?
Yeah, actually, I think the term cyber activist was created in Tunisia because in Tunisia we used to have no civil society. During the Ben Ali era, doing political meetings or even civil society meetings could be illegal. So people used internet to shout out and to send some messages to the world. So, and from then there were cyber activists, and that's the term where it comes from. Now I think the achievement is both freedom of the internet, so people can write whatever they want. Personally,
so Skander, take a pause for a moment. You got in trouble for writing stuff on the internet a couple of years ago. What can you write now that you couldn't write then?
Actually, before you could not really write. If you talk about truth or something that disturbs, you get censored. And there were a lot, to not say all the blogs in Tunisia were censored, except the propaganda's blog from the regime. So everything was censored, Twitter's account were censored, Facebook pages were censored, everything was censored. So now I think one of the achievements is that people are able to publish and to write on the internet without being censored, and so the message can be sent.
Sure.
And I think actually, if I
don't be sorry. Go ahead.
I think I definitely agree with what's been said that there's this newfound sort of courage and spirit of Tunisians to participate, to voice their opinions, to attend meetings and conferences of all different sorts. And I think it actually sometimes now we're having sort of the reverse difficulty, which is to which is to weed through all of these different voices and to try to get at the core of what's really happening, the political, transition, the economic difficulties, all these different things. So it's definitely, there's benefits and there's costs to, of course, democracy. The stability, the instability that some of those video comments noted is certainly part of it as well. But I think in general, we've been able to get something, this freedom of expression that hopefully, Tunisians are not going to give up easily.
Let me share this with you because I hear such hope and optimism from all of the guests, and I'm going to share you some headlines. These are the headlines that we know internationally. So this one's from March. Tunisia ends deadly siege of museum. This one will be from June. Dozens killed in Tunisia beach resort attack. One more just from November. ISIL claims responsibility for Tunisia attack. This was on the presidential guard bus, Mr. Ambassador. So you have all of this hope, this change, and then security issues as well. I just played 3 back to back. Are there more security issues that we're not even seeing as an international community that Tunisians are having to deal with every day?
Yes, we talked about this, the successes of Tunisia during the last 5 years, but we can talk also about the many challenges Tunisia has to face. I think number one priority and number one issue is security, and you mentioned it. So people, sometimes when they discuss this situation in Tunisia, they mention security, and true. Security is the concern not only of the government but also of all Tunisians, and the government is doing its best to tackle the security problem. You know that security now threats are not the proper of Tunisia or the region, but the entire world. Unfortunately, we all remember what happened in Paris, but also here in the United States, in San Bernardino, but also in many other countries, in Turkey and so on and so forth. Tunisia is part of these countries, democratic countries.
Let's be candid, Mr. Ambassador. When I said about everyday security threats, what are they?
They came mainly from terrorist groups. Unfortunately, in Tunisia, we have some small terrorist groups active in different parts of the country, mainly on the mountains, on the west part of the country, but also in the southern part of the country. Our army, our security forces are doing their best to defend the country and to exterminate this phenomenon, which is new for us Tunisians, which is new for the many countries. And our challenge is to defeat them and to tell them that Tunisians are against violence, are tolerant, are well-educated people, and if they want to destroy what we built in 5 years in terms of democracy and human rights and liberties, they cannot do it, because people in Tunisia are willing and are committed to defeat these obscurantists and to up-level, the debate in Tunisia for more freedoms, development, and security.
And Mr. Ambassador, the conversation online is in agreement that these groups need to be defeated, but also the question is how to go about doing it. And so that's where this discussion is going. This is Afif, who writes in about anti-terror laws that have been enacted. She says they have several loopholes, particularly detention of terror suspects for 15 days without access to a lawyer. She goes on to say that means suspects could be at risk of torture, which is really bad since torture and police abuse is still existent. But here today, we are with a new terror law, and attacks still happen. An anti-terror law is not a magic stick. So Ines, there's some criticism there. Do you think it's warranted?
I think the criticism is, we need to criticize the law. The problem is these draconic measures are used in many countries, not only in Tunisia, even in the US. After the 9/11, they had the Patriotic Act. So every country rushed to strengthen security controls and gives more power to security forces. That's what happens. But the thing is, are these measures really effective? probably this is what we have now in Tunisia as an immediate measure. But on the long run, we need also to think about other solutions. It's actually fighting terrorism needs to be of we need multi-solution, not one multi-dimensional solutions. And I think this law, yes, threatens, the image of the post-Tunisia, of the post-revolution Tunisia. It does not reflect the image of the free, Tunisia, with a good constitution, that the country, the whole world, was amazed by this constitution. Yeah. And the problem is with the threats to personal liberties and personal liberties. I mean, we have the same laws in Ben Ali
here. Ines, I hear you say that, but have a look here, back here at my laptop. Tunisia's new counter-terrorism law imperils human rights and lacks the necessary safeguards against abuse. And then there's also, and this is commonly cited as Tunisians actually helping staff up ISIL members. Lots of people going from Tunisia to actually be part of ISIL. Mariam, can you understand why that's happening?
Oh, it's definitely a concern. I think what we have to keep in mind, we really have to keep in mind the context and the recent history that we're dealing with. We had at least a period of a year, that is in 2011, with no stable government, with almost no presence of security forces. It was very much kind of a state of limbo. And in that time, you had people coming and going, weapons and other kinds of materials coming and going, with very little, if any, surveillance of that. And of course, we're going to see repercussions of that. And as the ambassador and as Ines before me mentioned, Tunisia is not immune from the difficulties from this phenomenon of terrorism that our Middle East and North Africa region is experiencing, but as we see across the world. And I think with this particular law, there are absolutely parts of it that need to be rewritten and revisited as soon as possible. And the great thing is that we have an assembly, we have a parliament that is democratically elected, that is representative, that's active, and that needs to be on this. And civil society, people like Skenda.
I'm sorry to jump.
Sure.
The problem is that the law was adopted unanimously by the parliament. This is the problem, So, and the thing is, this law, even in Ben Ali's era, we have the same law, which is not really different from this one. And this law was used against, political opponents, and especially the Islamists, those with Islamist background. So I think the concern is now that this law will be used.
You're debating back and forth. I actually want to bring in the ambassador because he's obviously from the current administration. Mr. Ambassador, what do you want to add?
Yeah, I would like to add to what was said that this law was debated and negotiated for more than a couple of years. And it was about time for the government to have a new law for anti-terrorism. It was among the very rare laws that was debated nationally. In the regions, in provinces, within the civil society organizations, at the parliament, in the political parties. So it was an effort of many actors. It's not only about parliamentarians. Of course, the role of the parliament was important, but this law was discussed among the civil society, Tunisians, media, many meetings within the regions. And by the end, we have an anti-terrorism law that is now in implementation.
Let me just bring in Skanda. Skanda, you said Mr. Ambassador. What did you want to ask him?
Yeah, actually, I have a question to Mr. the Ambassador. Is why discussing for so much this law? Is the anti-terrorism law our only struggle to face terrorism? Don't we have more important laws like the Law 52 or 230 to discuss? it's not more important to
so
discuss
Skander, we
these?
don't know what Law 52 is and Law 200 and whatever you just mentioned.
Okay.
What do we need to know about that?
What you need to know is in the post-revolution Tunisia, we still put marijuana consumers in jail for 1 year and a $500 fine. And for the Article 230, we still put people in jail for homosexuality, and the LGBT community is really threatened in Tunisia. So we are talking about post-revolution country. It is not more important to discuss those topics for at least 2 days, not 2 years?
I think these are two
Skander, let's let the ambassador respond.
I think these are two different issues. What Skander is talking about is fundamental liberties, and these are guaranteed by the Constitution. And we have a progressive Constitution that is there to protect these liberties and these fundamental freedoms. What we are talking about is about terrorism. Terrorism, of course, is a threat to the country, threat to the people, threat to Tunisia as a whole, and it needs a law that is adapted to this new threat. And by discussing the issue, discussing the law for a couple of years means that this law, discussing the law for a couple of years means that the debate was very positive, very active.
Sure.
And
Mr. take a pause for a moment. I don't think we quite heard Ines's question. Ines, repeat the question.
I mean, do you think these laws will prevent terrorism? I think the real, if we go and dig to the roots of terrorism, we should probably, start preventing the causes of terrorism, which is job creation, working on minimizing the gap between the two Tunisia. I mean, in Tunisia we have two Tunisias. Unfortunately, we have a Tunisia that is prosperous, which has a lot of opportunities, and we have a Tunisia with zero opportunities.
Ines, let the ambassador answer your question. Will these laws, and Skander, we're almost at the end of the show, so I would like to hear the response briefly, Mr. Ambassador. Will these laws stop terrorism?
Yes, talking about gaps that exist in the society and the imbalance of development in the country. This is a long-run, process that any government would have to tackle very urgently. But
all right, yes, but it's going to take time. Malika?
Yeah, talking about terrorism, we need immediate, law to handle the situation, because, we are subject to many terrorist attacks, and we are threatened by terrorism. If you have to wait until, the development gap is fixed and the situation in Tunisia is more prosperous, I don't think that the terrorists will wait also until we fix every problem and every challenge in Tunisia.
Well, Mariam, there's actually even another point in the ranking of issues that people are excited about and want to see changed. Youth unemployment is another thing. This is Imna on Twitter, who says, although Tunisia is in a better place than other countries, most of the revolution objectives haven't been met, especially employment and dignity. And Amir picks up on that, and he says what the government should do is make a strategy to protect youth from radical polarization, linking these two conversations that we're having through providing them with economic opportunity. Mariam?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to point out, it's funny how small Tunisia can be. I know both of those people. I think absolutely what we have to keep in mind is that security is definitely a concern, but it's a concern to almost all countries around the world. And it has underlying causes that have to be addressed. And among them is what these folks are talking about: youth unemployment, the economy in general. I mean, I think if we don't start getting really serious about, asking for support and assistance from our partners around the world to shore up the economy, to give people hope that that democracy delivers, democracy delivers prosperity to them.
I'm going to take you to the post show. Mariam and Ines and Skander and Mr. Ambassador. Malika teased us with a poll. How's the poll wrapping up?
After this conversation, 62% of people still say yes, it's a success story.
All right, Tunisia, a success story? Question mark. Stream.aljazeera.com. Join us in our post show and we can continue the conversation there. Thanks for watching, everybody. Take care. Hello again. This is the Stream's online post show. We've been speaking with Tunisians about how their country is doing 5 years since the Arab Spring. Doesn't 30 minutes go very fast, guess? It's like, can you believe that? I was like, okay, hurry up, hurry up, hurry up. We're almost at the end of the show. We've got a little bit more extra time, which is great. I'm going to start with Malika.
Well, so many Tunisians and no perspective that is the same as the other, which is the beauty of this conversation. So I actually want you to hear the perspective of a few more people. This is our team who went out and spoke to people in Tunis, and we asked them about what they hoped would change but didn't since the revolution. I want you to have a listen to what they had to say.
أكبر حاجة حبيتها تتحقق بعد الثورة كونه السياسيين يكونوا اجتماعيين ووطنيين تتقدم البلاد بقدرة الله.
حبيت الدنيا تتحسن وتولي بالكدا ونوليو لاباس علينا ونوليو خير من قبل.
بعد الثورة حبيت اللي العباد وليو يخموا أكثر في بلادهم وفي الآخرين هذوك ما صارتش.
اللي حاجة اللي حبيتها تتبدل معناها إنه مفهوم الديمقراطية يتفهم بصحيح.
حاجة اللي حبيتها تتبدل بعد الثورة العباد تولي تخمم لبعضها، العباد تولي تحس ببعضها، وعباد تولي تخمم كيف المستقبل.
بالطبيعة أكثر حكاية ما تبدلتش بعد الثورة هي المنطاليتي متاع التونسي، عقلية التونسي هي.
So Ines, that last comment there, she says the mentality of Tunisians hasn't changed. What does that mean? And do you agree with it?
Yeah, of course, totally. I mean, my first hat is a teacher, so I do believe in changing the minds and the importance of changing the mindset. The thing is, Tunisia, the revolution, opened the space for dialogues and, opened the right to speak for everyone. And that's one of the issues here is that sometimes we don't know the limits, of democracy and freedom. And that's one of the challenges. That's why we have as many countries in the globe right now, they are suffering from terrorism. Democracy and freedom of expression gives way also to extremism. And ironically, this is the price, of freedom. In the name of freedom, there is a threat to freedom. So I think one of the important things we need to work on is reforming education. And I believe that now the current Minister of Education is really audacious. And I do believe that he can bring a lot of change in the new educational system. But again, we need a very strong political will to work on education as a priority in Tunisia, but also Tunisians need to learn to be patient. The demands are high, the expectations are very high, and we all want change immediately, but somehow we didn't start changing ourselves, in the process of change. So I think it's now the mission of civil society, of the educational reformists and the educationists to start, working on a vision, a true vision, serious vision to change the mindsets of the future generation, at least the future generation.
Malika, as you're hearing, there's clearly a lot of multitasking that has to take place. I mean, we have a lot of work to do in the education sector. We have a lot to do in politics, reforming laws. Shoring up the consolidation of our democracy, the economy, addressing security concerns. There's so much multitasking that has to take place. But I think throughout this, what we have to keep in mind is that, look, there have been transitions like ours in history, and we have to look at those. I think one of the things that's most important during this time to help address the anxiety, the stresses, the frustrations that people feel very rightly. I mean, it's difficult living in Tunisia right now, living in a state of instability and limbo and not knowing what tomorrow brings, is patience, as Ines just mentioned. I mean, if we look at East Germany, after the fall of the Berlin Wall, for at least 10 years, folks there were talking about how things were better. At least they had stability under communism. At least they knew, where their food was going to come from, where their salaries would come from. This is a very normal human reaction to instability, is to start to, reminisce on what was, even if what was oppressive, was authoritarian, was everything that they revolted against. So there's a lot of multitasking that needs to take place, and I think, but we certainly have to prioritize as well. I mean, we being the parliament, can't do everything all at once. They have to sort of work step by step. But they also have to.
And
we
need to send. Mariam and Ines, as Mariam was speaking, Ines, hold tight for a moment. And Mariam, as you were speaking, the ambassador was nodding, nodding with passion. Well, why were you nodding? Ines, I'll come right back to you.
I agree. I agree with what's said by my three countrymen and men and women. And I would like to add another aspect that is really needed now in Tunisia is getting back to work. Tunisians now, I think the recreation is over, and now everybody has to work, has to give to the country, has to contribute to the development of the country.
Can you be very specific about that? Because when you say getting back to work, I thought, that unemployment is a major issue. But you weren't speaking
talking about
practically,
yes.
You were speaking metaphorically.
I'm talking about those who have job already, and everybody should get back to jobs, should give the best of himself to help the country develop and to get the country evolve. So the problem with unemployment...
we have a problem probably of laxism. So
it's not about laxism, but people after revolution think that the revolution that was the objective. And once we made our revolution, the objective is reach out. But they have to understand now that everybody should work harder and contribute to the development of the country. This is the objective number one and the tool number one to reach, the expectation of the people and to get the country develop more and better and quicker. The second issue.
All right, everyone wants to speak. All right, I've got Ines on the back burner. Mariam, you are way, way, way on the back burner, and Malika is going to be ahead of all of you. So Ms. Ambassador, finish up the thoughts.
The second issue is related also to the international community. Tunisia is open to foreign investment, to tourism, to exports, etc. So we are open to the international.
Let me just remind you here before I let Malika jump in. This is November. ISIL claims responsibility for Tunisia attack. So you may be open for tourism, but the rest of the world might not be ready to go to Tunisia.
What I mean is that, of course, everybody fears insecurity and terrorism. That's normal. But what I'm telling the international community is to stand by Tunisia and to help Tunisia develop and help Tunisia overcome some crises and some difficulties, because we are doing our utmost best to develop and to overcome many problems. But also the international community has a responsibility towards Tunisia if we want this model to succeed.
Malika.
So the ambassador mentioned getting back to work, and there's actually some agreement online. So I want to share this tweet from Lutfi, who says, Tunisia spends its time composing coalition governments, not concentrating on development, cultural, educational, security programs, hence that getting back to work. And Amir picks up on that as well, and he says youth voices should be heard in this. They should be involved in socio-economic reform. So taking this back to, how do you combine getting back to work with unemployment? Ines?
Actually, I like the last tweet, and I think this is the problem of why we have, it's the terrorism is a global threat. It's a global phenomenon. The exclusive policies to young people, I wonder, when shall we start including young people in the decision-making spots? I mean, those young people who flee to ISIS and Daesh, they want, they have a crisis issues. They have identity crisis. They want to self-validate themselves. They want to show themselves to the world that we exist. Daesh is opening the door to them because it's a youth-led organization, terrorist organization. They welcome young people into the decision-making spots. So we, as young people in Tunisia and in the world, in Europe, in the US, I don't know, we need to really think about a serious, inclusive approach to young people. The present belongs to young people, not the future. We're not the leaders of the future, we're the leaders of now. And I think just opening up opportunities for young people, trusting them, not just using them for logistic things. You know, in political parties in Tunisia, they use young people only for logistic matters. You know, they are not in the, you know, in the closed meetings, and the closed meetings are for all the men.
I need to intervene here. I'm sorry. I have to need a press. Yes. I think youth in Tunisia has the right to contribute to the development of the country and to be in decision-making, responsibility situations. But the problem, let me continue. But the problem, and now it was mentioned that ISIL is giving opportunities to youth, and it is an organization led by youth, and no,
I'm not making a propaganda for them.
I don't agree. It is a terrorist organization. Its objective is to destroy, and it is against humanity. But contribution and youth identity should be shown in contributing to the development by acquiring science and technology, by succeeding in their studies, but also in contributing their way to promote the country, but not by going to young youth-led organization that gives them opportunity to express themselves. Unfortunately, I don't agree on that. What was said.
This is a sad truth, Mr. Ambassador. I'm so sad to say it, but if we analyze the makeup, the composition of Daesh, it's an organization that, let's say it's a new cult. This is not about Islam, by the way. It's not about Islam. It's a new cult. And in the makeup of this organization, only young people are there. Why young people are fleeing?
So Ines, we're now going into territory which is very familiar to us on the stream. We've had this conversation in many different ways, from different aspects, from different parts of the world. So I'm not going to repeat that conversation because today was about Tunisia in particular. I'm going to say thank you to Ines Amri and Amalia Masmoudi, Skander Ben Hamda, and Ambassador Faisal Guia. Thank you so much for being with us. And Malika, what do you have?
What better way to end than in Tunisia? So these were the comments from people when we asked them moving forward what their hopes and concerns were for the country.
الشعوب الكل مسلمين ولا كريتيان ولا كاثوليك ولا اللي يجي عايشين على المستقبل. الدنيا كل المحور نتاعها هي مستقبل، كان من غير مستقبل ما تجيش تعيش.
نحبوا الدنيا تتحسن وتولي بالكدا ولينا ولصغيراتنا والجيل المستقبل اللي جاي جديد.
عندي امل اللي جون تونسي يولي ما عادش يخمش يخرج لبرا باش يفرمي روحه.
اكيد عندي مخاوف في تونس على خاطر ما عادش فما امان.
من ناحيه مخاوف وامال فما برشا مخاوف، ما نعرفش كان فما امال.
كل امال وكل ازهار نخزر للمستقبل.
So how well did this conversation go? Well, the ambassador is saying, will you come back to me? You're like, no, Miss Ambassador, I will not. And Skander is checking Facebook to see how he did in the conversation. Yes, pretty good, Skander. Thank you very much, guests, for being part of this conversation on the stream. We'll be checking back in with Tunisia. Take care, everybody.